All right, so in this video, I'm gonna talk about 5 things that most hoopers do not do in the weight room that can make a huge change in your athleticism. Now, none of these are the magic keys to just absolutely transforming your athleticism. I can't make you that promise, but if you start to implement some of these things in your training, I guarantee you'll see results. Also, before we get into the video, make sure to check out the Ultimate Athleticism program. We apply all these things and make sure you'll see results like never before. Not only vertical jump and speed, but also all the smaller quality: fluidity, balance, stability, basketball strength, etc. Link is in the description. Number 1 is training the foot and the ankle. If you think about it, this is really the only thing that touches the ground when we're moving around the court. So if we're not able to use that foot and ankle complex to the best of our ability, chances are no matter how much power we have upstream in the hips and knees, the trunk, or wherever, we're not actually gonna be able to put that into the ground and reach our athletic potential. So think of it like a car, right? You can have the most horsepower in the world, but if your wheels are slippery, they just don't work very well, chances are you're not actually going to be able to move at faster speed. So this can be targeting the big toe, right? I've evaluated hundreds of athletes in the last couple of years, and 80% of them have a pretty locked up big toe. If you look at acceleration, we're probably going to be wanting to get our big toe at a pretty flexed angle. If we can't do this, we're not able to get in these acceleration positions, and you see how that can kind of mess you up from there. So not only developing more range of motion, but also strength in that big toe, and also leading into the arches of the feet. If our foot is just completely dead, we wear shoes all day, it's like being in a coffin all day long. We just overall have feet that just don't work that well, they're weak. Again, that goes back to being the wheels on the car. We're not gonna be able to transmit that force into the ground. And then moving up, kind of the same thing for the lower leg, right? The soleus, the Achilles, the gastroc. If we're not able to lock up at the ankle when we punch the ground, we're gonna lose a lot of the potential explosiveness that we can create. Number 2 are isometrics. And the crazy part about this is that we're actually not moving at all. In an isometric contraction, this is one where our joints stay at the same angle the entire time. So maybe we're holding a lunge in the same position for the entire time. Maybe we're pressing into the wall, but we can't really move that wall, so we're staying in that same position the entire time. Now, there are 2 different types of isometrics that I'm gonna get into in this video, and both of them are used for different things. Number 1 are yielding isometrics. So these are ones where we can move if we wanted to, but we're just holding this position. So again, that goes back to the iso lunge. This goes back to maybe a push-up hold where we're getting to the bottom of push-up and we're just holding there. We could move, right? We could push up into that kind of straight arm position, but we're just gonna hold it at the bottom. So what these yielding isometrics are typically good for, number 1, tendon health. These are proven to really supplement those tendons, help build them up. And they're also good for strengthening certain joint positions without actually having to go through this full range of motion. So for example, if we're in season, if we're already very taxed from the court, we can put ourselves at a certain joint angle, just kind of sit there with some resistance and actually get stronger in this position. Now, if we really want to get stronger in some positions and see explosiveness gains, if we're looking for performance benefits, we want to go overcoming isometrics. What overcoming isometrics are is where we're pushing into an immovable object. So for example, right, I have the squat rack set up, the bar is under the pins here, and I'm pushing into those pins as hard as I can with that same joint angle that I'd see in a one-leg jump. So now we're expressing max output in these joint angles. So mix in those yielding isometrics for health, mix in those overcoming isometrics for some performance benefits. You have yourself a pretty good recipe for working hard without taxing yourself way too much. Number 3 is max velocity sprinting. This is one of my favorites. Number 1, just hoopers never get it. How often are you as a hooper out on an open field or an open track and you're just sprinting as fast as you can? For most people, it takes pretty much 30 to 40 yards to get to max speed. Clearly, a basketball court is not that long. We're typically on a basketball court. Not many of us play soccer, run track, so we're usually not getting this stimulus. But if we're able to get this max speed sprinting, number 1, you're never gonna get a better plyometric exercise than this. The amount of force that we have to put into the ground in such little time is second to none. Number 2, it's one of the best full body exercises we can do from a strength and a coordination standpoint. From that strength standpoint, when we're going as fast as we possibly can, that's the max level of output. And again, this is a full body activity. And then also from the coordination standpoint, to have all of this stuff working together at such a high speed is tough, especially when as hoopers we rarely get this. So even just learning how to sprint with decent form is a pretty good way to train our coordination on the court. Now, even if you can't get this because maybe you only have an indoor court, it's cold as hell outside, it's snowing, clearly can't get into open space, I'll take it if all you're able to do is max sprints maybe to half court, 3/4 court. Number 4 is implementing competition in your training. So for me, whether this is trying to jump higher than someone, whether this is low rim dunking, whether this is a manual resistance exercise where we're pushing against each other, being able to compete, being able to have fun through these things is huge for you because you're naturally going to go harder. when you have an external stimulus to try to work towards. And this could even be against yourself, right? Maybe you're trying to jump and touch something different every single time and get higher every single jump. Is that when you're having fun, when you're competing, when you're engaged in your workouts, you're proven to get extra out of your body than you would if you just didn't have something to measure yourself against. And then lastly is easier, more relaxed strength training. Now, do I think that there is a time where we should be lifting 90% of our 1 rep max? We should be really picking up some heavy weight, challenging ourselves? Absolutely. But for hoopers most times, the weight room is our secondary focus. The court is our number one thing. That's where we make our money. So if we're going so hard in the weight room, if we're constantly lifting crazy heavy weight to the point where we're frying our nervous system, we get on the court and we can't even go full speed, this is a tough situation. So what I found works really well and what many other smart people have before me is kind of doing this easier, more relaxed strength model. You're not having to hype yourself up for every set. You're not walking away from every set feeling like you just gave everything you had. You're lifting maybe 60, 70, maybe up to 80% of your max strength and doing it for an amount of reps that, again, does not kill you. To me, especially if we do this more frequently, this is the best way to train for hoopers, because then you can get on the court, still feel fresh, still even feel primed up for that workout, and ultimately get stronger without having to fry yourself every workout. So again, none of these 5 things are the secret. Not one of these things is magically going to turn you into the next best athlete. But if you start to implement these things in your training, you're going to see results. You're going to get a lot of low-hanging fruit from your training. And ultimately, you're going to have to do less to get more results. So this is one of the big focuses of our Ultimate Athleticism program. I put together all of my philosophies, all of my methods, all of my exercises into one big program that fits pretty much any hooper in any situation. We cover essentially every athletic quality that you're going to need on the court, and we go at it for an entire year round. If you want more on that, make sure to check the description. As always, thank you for tuning in. Make sure to follow me on Instagram at By Any Means Basketball for a lot more like this, and I truly appreciate all the support.